everyone, this is Sarah, the Catholic Homemaker. Today I wanted to give you an update on our preschool homeschooling with Mater Amabilis and Mother of Divine Grace. First of all, welcome to everybody to my channel, and to all those who are new, consider subscribing to my channel so we can continue to grow this community. Also hit the thumbs up button if you like this video, and share, comment below what curriculum you're using for your children, or what's your favorite Catholic homeschool curriculum, or why you decided to homeschool your own children. All right, so we have gone 14 weeks into our homeschooling. We completed week 14 just this past week, and the syllabus or the curriculum has gotten lighter in the past few weeks since finishing certain things. And it seems to be that way pretty much for the rest of the curriculum. And it with I'm referring to Mother of Divine Grace. And their curriculum, at least for preschool, goes 32 weeks. You have two options with their curriculum. You can do the 1-year plan, which is what I'm doing, or you can do the 2-year plan. And I just thought that it was okay to do the 1-year plan with my daughter because I thought she was ready for this sort of thing, but I guess it can depend on your own child. So definitely use your child as a guide and try not to push them too hard, especially for preschool and kindergarten, because those years, it's more about like gross motor skills, reading to them, really good children's literature, outdoor time, socializing with them. Those are really the most important things. So you can totally get away with not even doing preschool for your kids, but I think it's very important to read to your children every day. So if I did no curriculum at all, at the very minimum, I would read to my children every day. I would be doing the same thing I'm doing without the curriculum, trying to get them outside, including my own exercise time. I take walks with them. My oldest rides her bike now, and so I use that as time for me to get some exercise, and then also vitamin D from the sun. But we also used to go to the playground every single day on a schedule. We do go to bare minimum 1 homeschooling co-op a week. It's a social one. Sometimes we get to both of them. The other one is a little farther away for us, so that's why we don't make it every single week depending on our schedule. But at the very minimum, they're getting that playtime and socialization with other kids, but we have plenty of other opportunities throughout the week to have socialization with other kids. Okay, so as an example, I'm going to look at some of the beginning weeks with this curriculum. And the standard seems to be Monday, at least in the beginning from the curriculum, you're reading from, let's see if I can find the Bible. Okay. A Catholic Child's First Bible. So you're reading like 4 stories from this. Then Tuesday, you're reviewing those stories. You're asking questions about those stories. And if you can't think of them, they have questions right in the curriculum for you. I'm that type of person where I need that structure, so I definitely prefer that. That's one of the things I actually like better about Mother of Divine Grace is they have more of that instruction than Mater Amabilis, because if you haven't watched my other video, Mater Amabilis is the Catholic version of Charlotte Mason homeschooling. And so they have a free syllabus on their website for every grade level, including preschool, which is really awesome that they have that. But it is very laid back, and I can show you what it is since it's like free on their website. So it really only shows you by the week the plan. For religious education, it just says you need to be reading out of this book, my big book of Catholic Bible stories. You can accompany it with the catechism, because usually with each Bible story, it says, oh, read this from the catechism, or it says like, read this in the Bible. So you'd need like an adult Bible in order to do that. And then, yeah, so it has 1 Bible story a day, usually for each of the 5 days of the week. And then there's this book, Little Acts of Grace. And it usually has a theme or one thing that you can focus on every 2 weeks. So for week 13, it said distractions in Little Acts of Grace. So each of these are just bringing the preschoolers' attention to how you can honor Jesus in little ways. And so it's a really good book. Like, even if you're not homeschooling, I think it's a really great book to have. The next on the Modern Amabilis is Liturgical Year, and they just say, like, follow selections from Catholic Mosaic. And I have not been able to get a free copy of that book. I have gone through my interlibrary loan system. I've gone through 2 different library systems in my area, including the interlibrary loan system, as well as the 3 free library apps, which are Hoopla. What are the other 2? Hoopla, Libby, and Overdrive. And I could not access it, unfortunately. And maybe it's something that I would like to get eventually, but I think it's at least $25 to pay for that book. And I'm just like, I'd like to actually look at it first before I actually purchase it. And I was reading reviews of it, and it sounds like something that I would like to have, but some of the complaints about it, people were saying that it has Catholic books in there as part of, I don't know, like the lesson or whatever, but they are hard to find. And one of the people was saying they even have like a great interlibrary loan system, and it's been very hard for them to find, and it would be like expensive for them to buy all these books on their own. So, okay, next is math on here, and it just says math program of choice or number activities. And there, if you go to the preschool curriculum for Modern Amabilis on their website, they have a list of math activities and topics, including counting songs, number games like dominoes or number lotto, board games with dice, making copy sequences and patterns, time, a clock with movable hands, measuring a ruler or a weight scale, cooking measurement, money, learning different coins, count pennies, math, reading and writing daily for 10 minutes each, less for handwriting. So those are all the math suggested activities. But they said in their curriculum, if you want something, this is an optional thing, you can get this book here, the Oxford First Book of Maths by Griffiths. And this book has like a range of ages that is appropriate for, because for a 4-year-old, some of these topics are very advanced, like fractions are in here, and my daughter's definitely not ready for that. But some of the things like line symmetry or making shapes, I haven't done that with her yet, but that's kind of like a craft type of activity you could do. You could take a piece of paper, do things like that. Try to get them to recognize different shapes like a sphere, a cylinder, and then doing like measuring with them. So we have a ruler with different types of measurements on it. There's like 3 different sides to it, and we have other measuring tools. So I've done that with her. I've also done Mancala with her. We have that game, and she loves that game. I also tried to do dominoes with her. That was a little complicated, but it's also kind of fun to just line them up and try to knock them all down in a fun pattern. What else? We haven't done all those activities, just some of them on that list of math activities. So that's one of the things I did not purchase from Mother of Divine Grace, because initially I thought it might be too hard or pushing too much for my daughter, but believe it or not, she actually likes math, and she asks for us to do math. So if I were to do it all over again, I would have just purchased the workbooks from Mother of Divine Grace, and I'm pretty sure that's what I will end up doing for kindergarten, because I don't know if she'll be behind on anything. Hopefully not. The examples that I've seen from those pages, because they do have sample pages in there, it seems pretty simple to me. like they should be able to identify shapes, so you could work on that without a workbook. There's other things in there, but just that's one example I can think of. But yeah, I would have just purchased those because those were not that expensive, and it's a consumable, so you'd need to purchase it for every single child you have. But yeah, I guess it kind of just depends on your child, but my child seems to have an interest in math. And I know in preschool you just especially don't want to push them too hard. You don't want to push them past their level. You want to definitely encourage education in your children in many different ways, but especially with reading and things they're just not ready for, you don't want to push it until they're at an age where it's like, okay, you really should be working on that. And I hear that's around the age of 7, really, for reading. I don't know about for math, but I like how in Charlotte Mason or Modern Amabilis, they have the suggested activities that you can just do in your normal life, like playing games, teaching the time. I have another workbook that's like Pretty Learning, PRIDDY, and it's one where you can write on it with an erasable marker, and you can use it over and over again, which is awesome. So I've tried to teach her time that way, I'm like, okay, draw this in there, and she really likes that. So those are different things. So you don't necessarily have to have a workbook, but for me, for my style, I like to have that structure, and I think that my child would be okay with that, but it might depend on you and your family too. English, on Modern Amabilis, it says literacy activities, and the only thing I could think of for that, like, it wasn't very specific. I looked all over their curriculum, and the only thing I could think of is just like reading to them. So I don't know what else they might mean, because I didn't see anything else under English under the preschool section that showed any other activity you should be doing with your children as far as English. Literature is next, and story time. Pick your book of choice, and I think I have it printed out here, the list of books, picture books that they recommend reading for your children. Hopefully you guys can see all those, and a lot of those are classic books, if not all of them. I think all of them probably. And then the next 2 subjects are nature study and then art and craft activity. So nature study, the book that we bought for this, for Modern Amabilis, is The Year at Maple Hill Farm. And it's a really cool book because it shows what kind of things are happening throughout the year. This one is the month of June, and it's just showing what happens on the farm and what happens with the animals. So it goes through that with each month. And then the 2 other series that they recommend for nature study are One Small Square, and then there's 12 different books for that series, and then the Crinkle Root series. The Crinkle Root ones, we were able to find a bunch of them through our local library. So that's just what I've been doing, because it's so expensive to invest in all these books, even if you get used books, which is what I did for almost everything. For anything I could to save money on this curriculum, I did. And the nice thing is, like, pretty much everything that I got, I can use for my younger daughter when she gets to that level. So there's only like 2 things that I bought that she wouldn't be able to because they're consumables. The One Small Square series, I think we have 8 in our local library system. So that's pretty good. And the One Small Square series, it's just like showing a square foot in nature. So one of them's like your backyard is one of the books in the series. The other ones, another one I can think of is the tundra. So I guess depending on your area, or depending on what you want to teach your children or their interest, there's all kinds of books in that series, which is pretty cool. And then the Crinkle Root series is really nice because it's kind of more on a preschooler's level, and in at least one of the books we read, there were some craft activities that you could do, and one of them was creating a bird feeder from a milk carton. So these are definitely things you could do, and so that like checks the box for nature study and a craft activity. So arts and crafts, I guess lately I've been doing more coloring with my children. We used to go to the library and they would have a children's activity for them, but I just haven't done that in a while. So I just I like that structure, like somebody already has it set up for me. I don't have to set it up myself. But then I've also done like watercolor paints with them outside, or rock paints, which you have to be very careful about because they just stain everything. Okay, this video is already getting long, so let's move on. Okay, back to Mother of Divine Grace. So I went over this, like the first 10 weeks, you're going through this Bible, but it's a pretty short Bible and that's it. There are other Bibles that are recommended in there. I don't have them down here with me. One of them, it looks just like this. This is the Picture Book of Saints, but then there's one, I forget what it's called, like the Catholic Children's Bible or whatever it's called. It looks like the same way, but just different drawing, same style, different drawing, by Reverend Lawrence G. Lovisick. So it's the same author as this one. And this book, along with this one, I use to do the Saint of the Day. So that's just something extra that we do. I don't do it every single day because sometimes it's an obscure saint. And yes, I can find it on the internet, but I can't always find a reading of that saint that is at like a small child's level. But these two books are definitely at like a preschool, kindergarten level. It could go like higher than that, but my daughter is able to easily listen to that. Okay, next. For phonics on Monday, and this is actually like dual, phonics and nature study. So Mother of Divine Grace and Mater Amabilis are very similar, I would say. So if I had to choose between the two, only choose one, which is probably what I'll do next year, I would choose Mother of Divine Grace because it's just much more structured for the instructor, especially. You don't have to stick with it, of course, but I think it just depends on your preference. Like Mater Amabilis is just much more laid back. They give you like what you should be working on, but they don't give you a step-by-step. So this one, like the first one that you learn about is Apapane. Apapane. And so you're teaching your child the letter. So you teach them what it is. My daughter already knew the alphabet. She mostly knew the sounds already, but I make sure that she knows it when we go through it. So a for Apapane. And then there's an explanation of like where the bird lives, what kind of food they eat, that kind of stuff. And it goes through every letter of the alphabet here. They're just really beautiful drawings. And it also tells you one of the days to like trace with your fingers. But I've been like going a step farther, and sometimes I've had my daughter actually write it, and I make sure that she is holding the pen or the pencil in the correct way and writing the letter in the correct way. Because I'm like, I'd rather her do it right when she's learning it than like get into a bad habit and try to undo that. So I guess I didn't realize that Mother of Divine Grace did have nature study in there. It's just not as heavy as a focus. So I think that's why I wanted to combine the two. And then also I was unsure about how the math would be with Mother of Divine Grace, but I don't think it's too heavy. So I think, again, I would just choose Mother of Divine Grace, just personally. But they're both excellent curriculums, I think, for learning. Okay, for math on Mondays, it's just asking you to complete from a worksheet 1 and 2 in the first book. And then then reading every single day. Essentially, it's saying use from the book list. I'm going to see if I can find that book list because some of the books are similar. Okay, here's the book list, and they have it right on their website too. So I'm not showing anything that you wouldn't be able to find on their website, because if you go to it's MODG.org and you go look under their curriculums for preschool, you find like a whole supplemental reading list on here. So Beatrix Potter, like there are a bunch of those stories in there. Some of them are kind of surprising to me because I feel like they're too simple, like The Big Red Barn by Margaret Wise Brown, or Goodnight Moon, or The Very Hungry Caterpillar, because I'm like, those are really, really simple books. Or even like Are You My Mother, or The Runaway Bunny, that just seems like younger than a 4-year-old to me. I mean, I still read it to my older daughter, but I'm like more reading it for my younger daughter. So I guess it just depends on your child's reading level though, because there's kind of a range. Like Beatrix Potter is just so much more advanced to me, so it's just surprising to me that some of those books are on there with it. Okay, for Wednesday, you're reading about 2 different saints. It goes like this for like the first 10 weeks or so, and Once Upon a Time saints. And then we haven't moved on to more Once Upon a Time saints, but that's later on in the curriculum. So first week is saying read about St. Alice and St. Ambrose in there. So that's what you're doing every week for a while. And then on Wednesday you're doing math again, and it says have your student play with the scuba bug kit. So that was like one of the, for math, it has you buy 2 workbooks for the whole year or 2 years that you're doing it. And then there's a scuba bug kit, and then there's some sort of math weight, or I don't know, it's like this weight type of system, but that along with the scuba bug I think it was like $50. I'm like, there's no way I'm gonna buy that. I'm like, I don't even know what it was, and I looked it up. I'm like, this seems kind of silly, because it's like you could just do it with other things you might have in your house, because I think it's like you don't even have to have bugs. Like you could just scoop up marbles or beans or something and then like scoop it into something. I didn't quite understand the purpose of it. And then the other one, I don't remember off the top of my head. They also ask you to invest in an abacus. I have an abacus that I bought when I was in China. So I do, whenever I see it spelled out for me, like, oh, have your child count to this number on the abacus, I have her do that. And that's pretty simple for her. Then on Thursday is the lightest day, and it's just saying you're doing a worksheet from this book, and I'll show you, let's see, this is one of the worksheets here, so you're like having to match one thing to the other, and then it's having them complete a maze in here as well. So that's essentially what that book is. And then later on in the syllabus, it's having you, I don't know if it's because you run out of worksheets to do, but every once in a while it says, like, pick an activity from page 1 of this book. One of them's, you can just sing and chant finger plays from this book, from We Sing. There's things like Hickory Dickory Dock, probably Three Blind Mice, just children's songs like that. Another example would be, play with finger puppets. So it's just preschool type activities on here. Okay, give your child a pair of safe tweezers or tongs and have them practice counting by placing small marshmallows or pom-poms and empty ice cube trays. But I just used what we had. So I had like an egg carton, and my husband had tongs that didn't seem too dangerous. And I just had her scoop up these wooden numbers we have from like a, 1 through 12 number. I don't know if you'd call it a puzzle, but like they all go in a certain spot. And I just had her put it in the egg carton, like each compartment in there. So there's activities like that, and there you could do things like that with your child without having a curriculum that you buy. So later on, I don't know actually when it starts, you start getting to the glory stories. And it's kind of funny, like by the time that it came in there, it might have been week 11. Let's see, right here. Yes, I think it was week 11 for religion. You're starting to listen to the glory stories. And by that time, since we had gotten the glory stories, we got everything basically before we started homeschooling. I was so excited about it that we just started listening to them, and we were listening to them like as soon as we got the chance, and we had already finished all of them before it was time in the syllabus. So now we're just like reviewing them, which is really cool. And so it kind of changes like things as you get through activities or assignments change as you get through the weeks in the preschool curriculum, but yeah, it's like the first 10 weeks is more of a focus, and then the next 10 weeks is another focus. It only goes through 32 weeks. It goes through 36 with the other. I also wanted to mention the Harp and the Laurel Wreath. So at least for the first 10 weeks or so, it has them memorizing some poems from the beginning of this book. Most of them are by Robert Louis Stevenson, the ones that they are memorizing. And they're pretty easy to memorize. I was really impressed with my daughter's memorization because she was memorizing the poems better than me. And granted, like I wasn't like frantically trying to remember it, but you know, I just had to read it to her like a couple times, and she basically had it memorized. And I would ask her later in the day, and she would still have it memorized, apart from like an article like the or a. So I just thought it was very impressive, and I think that's the strategy of trying to focus on memorization in the Trivium for classical education for children, is because in the younger years, their mind is like a sponge, and they just can memorize so much. So you want to take advantage of that time and just fill their head with knowledge during this time. So there's some other supplemental things. Oh, this is not supplemental. So after you have gone through that Catholic Children's Bible, you start moving on to the Rosary. And this is just like a $2 book, so you can easily get this. This is part of the St. Joseph picture book series. And this one just goes through part of the history of the Rosary, then how to say the Rosary, and then it goes through all 4 different mysteries. Joyful, luminous, glorious, and sorrowful. And in recent weeks, it's been asking for you to memorize the joyful mysteries and the luminous ones. And my daughter very easily memorized that. And the Apostles' Creed, she basically has memorized word for word. And she had that memorized before we did it, because the past few months, as a family, I've been trying to have us say the Rosary together every night, and it's been wonderful. So that's like an advantage, is she already knew how to do that for her curriculum. There's just 3 more things. These are just supplemental. This is the walking with Jesus to Calvary, Stations of the Cross, and both of my daughters like to hear about this. This is just like one of the pages, what it looks like. That's the 3rd station. Jesus falls the first time. And then these are the illustrated Acts of the Apostles, and it's actually kind of fun to read to them. We haven't gotten through the whole thing yet, because it's not like a hard part of the curriculum. It's just something supplemental, and I just wanted to get it for them. And then lastly, this is another handwriting book, but I've been looking in the syllabus for Mother of Divine Grace. I don't see it fully in the syllabus, so maybe it's just something that we could work on our own. And it's just not something we've started yet. But I'm going to show you a few example pages. So this one, I guess it's having you trace your hand, it looks like. Yeah, it's having you trace it. So I think it's having the child actually do that. And let's see. letter recognition, so it's matching. And then I know this one's like going the pages before and after, going through like 1 through 10. It's having you color the numeral and count and color the 9 balloons on this one. So that's about it. I didn't intend for this video to be so long, but I hope you found it to be helpful, and just let me know in the comments what you think. If you have any questions about this, I hope you have a wonderful week, and may God bless you and your family.